did you go out to eat?
We would go once a year, 4th of July, we'd go to the A&W Rutgers stand. Otherwise, we always ate at home. We couldn't afford to go out to eat.
Did you watch TV?
I didn't have a TV until I was 16. Then we had a black and white TV. My Grandpa Sagan brought up an 11-inch DuPont. I can remember almost the day he bought it. And it was black and white. And that's the TV we had until I moved out when I was 18.
What kind of games would you play?
Well, we'd make up kind of our own games. We didn't have a lot of time, but we'd always play softball. The Netwells would come and they had 5 kids and we had 7, so we would make a good softball game every weekend. And so we played a lot of softball. As far as other games, we would make our own games. We would find a little wheel and we'd make a stick to push it around the yard and stuff. Otherwise, most of our stuff was all homemade toys. You didn't ask me when we got hot water or when we got a toilet in the house. I was 12 before we had warm water in the house. We had warm water in the barn, in the milk house, before we had it in the house. And we would, Saturday nights, we would run out in the barn and take a shower and run back into the house. During the school year, the only time we would have a shower is when we went to school, because we didn't have any hot water in the house. The only hot water we had in the house was on the side of the wood stove, and there was probably 5 gallons on each side, but that was for cooking. We had an outside toilet until I was 12. Whenever you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go outside and use the toilet outside.
Where should you go? Go get the pot.
What's that?
You should go get that pot.
Oh.
Crazy, huh? Like an outhouse. I'm gonna bring it here.
What?
Can I bring it here and I'll have to?
Yeah. Because the bottom works. What kind of animals did you have?
Oh, on our farm we had 50 Holstein cows, heifers, and calves. We had all kinds of cats. We had 3 dogs. We had chickens. No ducks. And that was about it. We usually had about 100 chickens. We had some that laid eggs, and then we had some that we butchered. When we butchered in the summer, all the relatives come because they knew there was meat available.
Where did you go to church?
Where did we go to church? Halfway Lutheran Church. It's about 2 blocks from where the grade school was, and it's still an operating church. Grandma and I got married there, so that church is still, and it's a very beautiful church on the inside.
Can't bounce.
Did you get candy?
The only time I can remember getting candy was a nut goodie, and they still do make those. If I went on the milk route with my dad and handled the empty cans, then we would stop halfway through the route and I'd go in this one store and he would buy a nut goodie for me, which cost a nickel. And that was my candy bar. That was my treat for working with my dad on hauling cans all day. Otherwise, we did not have candy in the house. It was not allowed.
It's a good rule, huh?
What kind of movies did you watch?
I don't ever remember going to a movie until I started dating Grandma, and then we had an outdoor theater that we would go to. They don't hardly have those anymore. There's one up in Door County. I think that's about the last one in the state of Wisconsin. But that was the only time when I was dating Grandma that we would go to movies.
Did you have any other electronics like iPads or phones?
Those iPads and phones were not even thought of back in those days. Between the TV and the radio, that's all there was. There was nothing else. We would have a phone that was a party line. There was usually 10 people on that line, so when you picked it up, you had to make sure nobody else was talking before you could dial. And we always had some neighbors that were always gabbing, and you couldn't get on the phone. So we lived a half mile from school, and most of the time we would walk to school. We were 3 miles from town, and especially my brother Larry and I would run home after track practice or football practice because Mom and Dad couldn't pick us up, so we'd run home. That was 3 miles one way.
What kind of car did you have?
I did not have a car until I was 17, and then I had a 55 Chevy that the neighbor to my grandpa Sagan was selling it, and so that's what I had when I was 17. I got a 1955 Chevy.
What kind of car did your family have?
Actually, the car that I remember the most is we had a 1955 Studebaker Silverhawk. And why I remember it so much is because it took me a whole day that I waxed it for my father, and he didn't realize I could do that, and I was pretty proud of myself. And then we had an old Ford truck that we would, 2 people to ride in front, maybe 3, and then there'd be 5 or 6 of us in the back. And that's how no seat belts back then. We should have been dead by now because all these, no seat belts, no helmets, none of that stuff back when we were kids.
Did you have roofs on the cars?
Did we have roofs on the cars? Yeah, there were roof on the car, but not the pickup truck. Me and my brother Larry and Larry and Jerry rented the neighbor's farm, and we raised hogs up there, and we showed them at the fair, and then we sold them to make money on the side.
What was your favorite memories?
That was my favorite memory? Oh man, there were so many. I guess the biggest surprise I can remember as a kid, for Christmas we got 3 sleds for the 5 of us, and normally we didn't get presents at Christmas, but a neighbor, we found out later, donated money to Mom and Dad to buy Christmas presents. And so they bought us 3 brand new sleds for 5 of us to ride.
Were they double?
Did we ride double? We not only ride double, but we would ride down a hill on a piece of cardboard.
about Christmas.
Tell you more about Christmas?
Present though?
Well, we always had a Christmas play in the 6th grade. I can remember I always helped set up the stage because it was downstairs and needed to be brought up, and I was one of the older boys, so I'd help set up the stage. And then we had a Christmas program at school, and then we had a Christmas program at Sunday school where we had Mary and Joseph and all the people walk up the church aisle, and it was a pretty good thing that we show that we presented to all the congregation. And then we all got a paper bag with popcorn and candy in, and I guess that was the other time of the year we had candy at home, otherwise we did not. We did not, Mom and Dad used the excuse of being farmers, and I guess it was a good excuse, but we would never go hardly at all to anybody else's home, or I was in 4 sports, and my dad never attended one event, not even the banquets that we'd have in the spring, the sports banquets. He had to be up at 5 and he hit every day, so he was pretty tired after working, so he didn't go to any of the, I had a couple uncles that would come, but my dad never attended any, my mom or dad didn't attend any sporting events.
Did you have any cousins?
Did I have any cousins? Yeah, and I got to tell you a cute little story about a couple. The Netwalls, there was 5 of those kids, and they were our closest cousins because we did, every weekend we just about played ball with them. And then I guess there was 5 there, and then there's Dwayne and Swell, and there was 2 there, and then the other Saugans, there was 3. And then there was 2 Benroods, and I got to tell you a little story about them. They would come out of the farm and make fun of farmers and thought they were better than everybody else. So one day they would come out and they were making smart remarks about us being dumb farmers. So my brother and I, Larry, we locked them in a corn crib. We got them in there and we shut the door and locked them in there for an hour. We wouldn't let them out. And they never came back to the farm after that. So, and at Dale and Linda's 50th or 50th wedding anniversary was the first time we had saw those 2 since we had locked them in the corn crib. 50 years later. Stay down.
Wow.
So we got the